Hello everyone. So let's look at the top three questions on zero-day attack. But before discussing the top three questions, let's understand what do we mean by the term zero-day attack. I hope that I assume that some people might be knowing about this term, but then I also understand that many people who are especially not from the security background, or who belongs to the audit background, or maybe some another background, they may not be understanding this term. They may not understand this term. So what do we exactly mean by the term zero-day attack? You know what? The best part about IT is that, if you don't understand any meaning of any of the term, just look at the literal meaning of that, of each and individual words in that particular term. So when we say zero day, it has three words: zero day attack. It means, you can say, it's a newborn attack in the market, which people are not even aware about it, right? It's a newborn. When we say a baby is a newborn baby, baby is born 1 hour back, so we can't even call that baby as 1 day old, right? He or she is just born, so we can say zero-day baby, right? So similarly, here is also zero-day attack. It means there is no available security patches. Anti-malware industries are not aware about this, right? It's a new in the market. Okay, so we can just have a quick look about this topic, zero-day attack. So zero-day attack are like secret attacks that nobody knows about, right? They are called zero day because they happen on the very same day that a vulnerability is discovered in a computer system or a software. Discovered by whom? Okay, normally first it is discovered by the attacker, by the hacker, right? So the person who is a black hat hacker, okay, the attacker, that person has identified it, right? There is some vulnerability, right? And they are trying to exploit that. Okay, and we got to know, okay, there is some attack and we are not ready for it, right? The industries gets to know about, there is some attack, but as of now we are not at all ready for it, right? We don't have security patches. Okay, our manufacturer or our vendor whose software we are using, they have not yet provided the patch for it. Okay, anti-malware industries, they also don't have any signatures updated for this attack, right? So it's a new in the market, right? So when a bad guy finds a vulnerability, they can use it to sneak into a computer system without being detected. And because nobody knows about the vulnerability yet, there are no fixes or patches to stop the bad guy, the black hat hacker, from getting in. That's why they call it a zero-day attack. These types of attacks can be really dangerous because they can cause a lot of damage before anyone even realizes what exactly is happening. All right. So I hope you everyone understood the term zero day. Whenever you get stuck, in any of the words, just look at the literal meaning and try to understand, in layman's language, just try to look at the literal English meaning of each and every word. You will understand what exactly the IT term means. Most of the times that will work. All right, so let's look at the top three questions. Yeah. So question number one: which of the following should be the first step? Always break the question. First step in managing the impact of a recently discovered zero-day attack. First step in zero-day attack. Option number A, evaluating the likelihood of attack. Option number B, estimating potential damage. Option number C, identifying vulnerable assets. Option number D, assessing the impact of vulnerabilities. The correct answer is option number B. Sorry, option number C, identifying the vulnerable assets. This is the right answer. Right? Now, before understanding why this is the right answer, uh, let's try to again understand all the four options. So option number A is talking about evaluating the likelihood of the attack. It means the possibility of the attack happening in our system. Estimating the potential damage, option number B, estimating the potential damage. It means we are estimating how much loss we would incur. All right. We can incur if that if that exploit happens in our system. Option number C, identifying which assets are vulnerable in our organization. Option number D is assessing the impact. What would be the impact of the vulnerability? So since the question is talking about the first step is will always be identifying the vulnerable assets. If you don't know which assets are vulnerable, how will you understand the potential damage or what would be the impact of it, right? So first step would always be identifying the vulnerable assets. Let me just a second, let me bring the explanation for it. Yeah, so there are four options, right? So um if you look at which would be the first step, second step, third step, and fourth step. The first step would be identify vulnerable assets, as the second step should be evaluate the likelihood of the attack, then estimate the potential damage, and the last step would be assess the impact of the vulnerabilities, right? So we can look at one example. So recently there was this zero-day attack from Outlook. Okay, you might be knowing about it. So it was I think 16th of March something. Okay, when they got to know about when the Microsoft released about the news about the zero day in Outlook. Okay, so that Outlook, I think it impacted all the versions of the Outlook. Okay, but okay, sometimes it may not have an impact on all the version, but a specific version of that Outlook. Okay, maybe if any of the organization is using a prior version, okay, it could have an impact on the prior version. Okay, so when we say identify vulnerable assets, the organizations need to identify which version of Outlook are affected by the zero-day vulnerability and which systems are running these vulnerable versions. Okay, so normally what happens is that, okay, so if the manufacturer releases, okay, a news saying that this particular version is has an impact, right? So in my organization, what we will do is that we will see, okay, which system, okay, we might be having lots of systems, lots of servers, right? Which of our servers or laptops or endpoints, whatever it is, is having this particular version of the software. Okay, so first we will identify which assets, which are our vulnerable assets, right? Which of how many of our servers have this version. Okay, so first we will identify the vulnerable assets. This could involve checking system inventories and conducting vulnerability scans, right? So we can use a tool. When we say we will conduct vulnerability scans, we will use a automated tool, right? So there are so many tools in the market. Our organization uses the tool known as Tenable IO. Okay, it's from Nessus. Okay, we use that to conduct vulnerability scans. Okay, there are so many other vendors or players in the market, but the thing is that I hope you're understanding what I'm just trying to link the four options with one example. Okay, then we will evaluate the likelihood of the attack, the possibility, right? The organizations need to determine the likelihood that the vulnerability will be exploited. Just because you are having vulnerability, that doesn't mean that you are being exploited. So we have discussed in depth in domain 2, right? There is vulnerability, there is threat. Okay, uh, when threat materializes or when it exploits the vulnerability, then only the risk happens, right? So how much is the likelihood of that? This would involve analyzing threat intelligence and monitoring the signs of attacks. We will see, whether we are able to see any unusual behavior in our systems. Okay, are there any unusual behavior? If there is, there could be a sign that the attacker is using or taking the opportunity of this zero-day vulnerability and trying to gain our some personal sensitive information, not personal sensitive information, right? So when we say evaluate the likelihood, evaluate the possibility of the attack, estimate potential damage, the organization needs to consider the potential impact of an attack exploiting the vulnerability. This could include assessing the sensitivity of data stored in Outlook and the potential impact of a breach. Assess the impact of vulnerabilities. The organization needs to assess the impact of the vulnerability on their overall security posture and determine if any additional controls or mitigations are needed to reduce the risk. So the answer for that particular question is option number C, which is identifying vulnerable assets. Let's look at the second question. Which of the following best facilitates detection of zero-day exploits? Detection of zero-day exploits. Option number A, anti-malware software. Option number B, user behavior analytics. Option number C, IDS. Option number D, IPS. Okay, the correct answer is for sure very easy question. Option number B. Okay, because A, C, and D won't work here, right? This is what we have discussed. It's zero day. Okay, zero day means IDS, IPS, or anti-malware may not able to identify those vulnerabilities in the system, right? That's why it's called zero day. It's a newborn baby, right? So the only thing is that we'll have to monitor the systems, to analyze any unusual behavior happening, right? So that's why the correct option should be option number B. Alright, so zero-day exploits are new, unknown, and unpatched vulnerabilities that can be used by attackers to gain access to systems. As such, the traditional security measures such as the anti-malware software, intrusion detection system, intrusion prevention system may not be effective in detecting these exploits. User behavior analytics, on the other hand, analyzes user behavior patterns and identifies anomalies that could indicate a zero-day exploit. By monitoring user activities, the system can detect unusual behavior that may indicate a new or unknown exploit. This may provide early warning of an attack and enable organization to take action to mitigate the impact of the exploit. So this is what they have discussed, right? So you can monitor the user activities to detect any unusual behavior happening in the system. Okay, this could be because of the zero day vulnerability, right? So this is what we can do. We are helpless here, right? Let's look at the last question. A legacy application. What do we mean by the term legacy? Legacy means outdated. Legacy means outdated application which is no longer supported by the manufacturer. Okay, they may not be even manufacturing it. Okay, or the vendor, right? The vendor is maybe out of business, or maybe they have stopped that. I mean, they might have launched some new products or um, service, so that particular software, that particular application, it's outdated, right? It is outdated. So it is not having manufacturers support. And you know what we have discussed? We have discussed that when we say update or patch, right? So we can use the term update, right? When we say update could be update additions in the features or functions, right? The vendor may introduce new functions or new features, right? So they may come with an update for having additional features, but the critical update happens when the vendor comes with the security updates, right? To fix any bug, okay, to fix any known vulnerability. Okay, so security updates or security patches are the most important thing, right? And this is important for all the organizations, right, to regularly patch their systems, their applications, their operating systems and everything, right? Whether it's application system or whether it's operating system, they have to patch or update it regularly. Okay, so legacy means it is outdated. Okay, is running on an OS that is no longer supported by the vendor. The legacy application is no longer supported by the vendor. If the organization continues to use the current application, which of the following should be the IS auditor's greatest concern? Potential exploitation of zero-day vulnerabilities in the system. Option number B, inability to update the legacy application database. Option number C, increased cost of maintaining the systems. No, no, no. Option number D, inability to use the operating systems due to potential license issues. Again, no. So people will get confused between option number A and B because both options are right, right? Because in the end, you have to understand that when we say legacy, it means inability to update, right? Because there is no vendor support, there is no manufacturer support, right? So, but here, which would be the right answer? The right answer would be option number A. Okay, understand this thing. The question is clearly stressing on the word greatest concern. Okay, now understand one thing. When we say zero day, okay, when we use the term zero day, it means that as of now there is no patch for it, right? So let's say if patch is released by the manufacturer. Okay, let's take an example. 1st January 2023. Okay, there is a news about the zero day vulnerability. Okay, 3rd January 2023. 3rd Jan. Okay, it's not 1st March, it is 3rd Jan because US based calendars are different. Okay, anyways, 3rd January, there is what? There is a patch released by the manufacturer. Okay, so as on 3rd of January, this particular vulnerability will not be called as a zero day because there is a patch available for it, right? So it will no longer be zero day, right? But on 1st of Jan and 2nd of Jan, it would remain what? Zero day, right? But 3rd of Jan, since the patch is released, it will not be called as zero day because the patch is already released, right? Okay, but we would say that we want to patch the zero day issue. So normally when we discuss in the organization, we will call it as zero day even on 4th Jan or 5th Jan. But technically it doesn't remain zero day, right? Because there is already solution for it, right? Remediation is there. Okay, so now when we say legacy application, or you can say supported application, there can be two applications: legacy application, okay, which is outdated, and then the supported applications, which is up to date, right? Updated, okay, up to date. Okay, now zero day has impact on both supported as well as non-supported. When we say legacy, legacy you can also call it as unsupported applications. But whether it is unsupported or whether it's supported, zero day has impact on both, right? Zero day will have impact on both unsupported as well as supported applications. Okay, but here still we will go with option number A because understand, when we say legacy applications, zero day is not only having impact on the legacy but also on the current up-to-date applications, right? So but why we are going with the answer as option number A is because in the end you have to understand that the auditor will be worried. See, auditor will definitely be worried because when we say legacy application, we also call it as end of life. Normally if you are a security professional, you might be knowing this term end of life. Okay, we normally use this term in the organization. We call it as end of life, that a particular uh, application or a system has it has reached its end of life. All right, and we have to change it, update it, right? Okay, inability to update the legacy application, which is option number B. Option number B is a concern for the auditor, no doubt. But when we say the greatest concern will always be that something is exploited, right? Because, okay, in just because you are unable to update, that doesn't mean that you are incurring a loss. You understand one thing. When we say there is a vulnerability, when we say there is a threat, that doesn't mean there is a risk. Okay, we have discussed about this in domain 2. Okay, just because, okay, you can say this. Okay, I have not taken vaccination for COVID. I have Just because I have not taken vaccination for COVID doesn't mean that I will get COVID virus, right? That doesn't mean that. Okay, so understand like this. So just because there is inability to update, that doesn't mean that there will be exploitation. But the greatest concern, the biggest worry would be that what if there would be exploitation? Because understand one thing. Okay, on 3rd of January 2023, for other systems which are supported, this particular vulnerability will not be called as 0 day. Okay, technically it won't be a 0 day, right? But for that legacy application, this will still remain 0 day. Okay, or if I take this example further, on 1st of January 2024 also, okay, this same issue which was the 1 year back will still be 0 day for what? For the legacy applications, right? For those applications, those are still vulnerable. Okay, so understand one thing, the previous security patches or updates which were released for the supported versions, are we still don't have those for the legacy ones. Okay, so those are always in risk. Okay, and the biggest worry or the concern would be, what if the exploitation happens? Okay, we will incur loss, we will have a reputational damage. There could be, impact because of any regulations, because we might have breached some regulations. Okay, there could be so many factors. Okay, there could be loss and financial as well as non-financial loss. Okay, when we say loss could be both financial in terms of money, or non-financial loss. Okay, damage to the brand reputation, right? So answer is option number A, which is potential exploitation of 0 day uh, in the system. Okay, so I hope everyone has understood this entire topic and these three questions. Thanks a lot.